Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality and Digital Marketing Live show number 152. That's right, 152. We've been coming to you each and every week for almost 3 years. Our third-year anniversary comes up, I think it's 3 or 4 sessions from now, 4 sessions from now in August. And hey, Mr. Ed.
3 years?
I know, right? It just seems like yesterday you and I got to know each other.
Feels like 14.
Oh, see, that's because we enjoy each other's company so much.
That's right.
Hey, I got bad news in a strange way for you. And for those who don't know, Ed's coming down to visit me in a few days. And we have the green slime. It's growing. Take a look. I don't think it's out to Sanibel yet where you're going to be, but keep an eye on it.
I was looking to see if there were any red tide reports.
Yeah, there is up north by Charlotte Harbor. But you have red tide to worry about, but this green slime it should be an emergency. I mean, it's literally evasively going into everything down the river. I mean, we got it in front of our canal now. It's in all the canals up north, up the river. People can't get in the water. All because of this crappy bleed off of the lake because they screwed it up by putting a dike on it way ago. But anyway, that's just personal information. For us, though, we don't have Robert's happy list this week.
I gave a good list. I gave one thing to talk about.
You did. You had, and Stuart added to it if he joins us today about the other videos as well, which I thought was kind of interesting for it. I pulled up some other articles that I didn't share with anyone, because it's kind of like a grab bag anyway. And I thought just in case, I don't know if you remember the old TV show Tool Time. I was going to go over and yank out some old tools of stuff for people that are doing lead research and so forth that I use for people that might be interested in doing their own lead research, because I'm helping Holly with her Phoenix chapter. She's going to do some Facebook ads for them, and I went over and made some custom audiences of ripping some industry people out of the market and giving her the list to go chase down and make custom audiences of. So I was going to kind of go through a little bit of that too if we had time today, but just stuff like that. But anyway, you did bring for show and tell an item of interest, so you get to go first.
Yeah, so I actually have seen on television an ad from Uber, which has Dara talking about what he is doing to make Uber a better company. Which, let's face it, he needs to do everything, because Uber was the epitome of evil empire that benefited no one but themselves. They're actually really good. Did you get to see any of them, Lauren?
I did see the 1 minute one that he says, hey, ever since I joined, I want to make this better, bigger, better, and all that kind of fun stuff. I did see that.
Yeah, so I've been seeing it on TV, which is really what made me think of it. Was it's a pretty interesting approach, but it also really shows the depth to which this issue has become public knowledge, that they're having to run pretty substantial ad spend to get this in front of people. So I posted up an example in the chat. Dara is a great spokesperson. I mean, fantastic. Using I don't know if this video had it, but using the story of advice he got from his dad, I thought was really good. That's one of the videos that I saw.
Yeah, I think that's the one that I saw too, where he was talking about what he brings to the company and what he's trying to improve its persona and everything else like that. I thought, and to your point, he needs to, because of course he's fighting the huge buildup of the animosity that's associated with
lots
them.
of ill will, and I mean, he addresses all the stakeholders of the ill will, so local cities and drivers and passengers and employees. I mean, I don't think there's anyone they haven't had ill will with.
True. Well, I mean, when you start doing black hat things like making sure that anybody that can have a political aversion to you or not gets isolated, so that they don't see you out of your parameters of control and block you on your app and all that kind of stuff. I say that, yeah, he has a little bit of an uphill battle to convince people that the world has abruptly changed in the land of Uber so dramatically since he's joined in. And then, of course, I mean, I like the safety app that they now have, where if
I haven't played with it.
Ride, I haven't played with it either. I like the concept of it, and this is the odd part of this, and this is just more of a weird thought to it, is if Uber can do this, why can't 911 do this? I hear you're dealing with
to be fair, governments have a few more issues that they have to deal with, and they can't invest to the same level that private sector can. And there's arguments to be said for staying on old tech for government.
Yes.
Old tech is harder to hack.
Very
in
true.
a lot of cases. 911 is one of those things you probably want to avoid having hacked.
Maybe. True. It's just, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get some technology over. I'm changing my VPN portal real quick here.
Speaking of reasons that maybe the government shouldn't be getting into super technological things.
The show.
No.
There we go. All right, life is good.
So, one thing I thought that would be interesting to talk about too, unless you have something else for the Uber.
No, it's all free form today. Like I said, I got some tabs pulled up and some conversations.
You posted a video yesterday on social media that you took on 4th of July.
Yeah.
And that's great footage. So here's my question. Why aren't more hotels doing drone footage of their properties?
Isn't that freaking amazing that they're not? I mean, I'm piecing together. It was my...
I get like hotels on International Drive in Orlando, why they're not doing it, because all it is flat roofs and air conditioning units. But there are quite a few hotels that are, very picturesque, have amazing landscapes. And let's face it, that video you posted, I'm guessing the drone does most of the work on the stabilization and all of that.
Completely. As a matter of fact, it was actually breezy. I didn't go higher than I did for a couple of reasons. One is I'm still getting good at flying it, which is really true. And the other is that with it being that breezy and dark, I was afraid I was going to lose it. Like, okay, it goes up, the breeze blows it around, and I don't know where the hell it is, and I'm trying to fly it back or something. But no, it is amazing. I've actually did some drone footage of one of the hotels in New York that I'm doing. This drone, the technology has advanced so much. Hey, Mr. Stewart, how are you, sir?
Hey, guys. How are you?
How are you?
I was going to call you in the middle of...
Continue.
No. I was going to call you in the middle of the British game just to go say, hey, you want to talk about peeling paint? Just to bug you.
First of all, there's no such thing as a British game. It's England, not Britain.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And I want to lodge a
How
formal
much do you think they paid those referees to win that game for them?
0. Well,
Really?
actually, they probably do get paid, but not by England. It was
a quarter million people was the last I saw.
You cannot rain on my parade, boys. I'm very happy man right now.
You are happy man. We're talking drones.
Happier tomorrow or very, very sad tomorrow. So I'll go into a period of 30 days of mourning if we lose tomorrow.
Well, I'm actually rooting for Belgium right now. We have friends that are from Belgium, and we're going to be rooting for them a little bit until we clash with you. And then I have a moral crisis as to whether I back you, friend that you are, or friends that I've known for years and years. So I just,
no question.
I'm opening up for.
We all know what I'm going to do.
Not watch either.
Correct. And then talk about it like I did.
There you go. That's funny.
Ed was complimenting me on my recent video post of a drone that I shot.
Actually, I was complimenting your drone.
Yeah, not me really. But I did the same little drone in New York with one of my hotels where I was just taking some approaching action along the sidewalk up to it and then elevating above the sign and then coming out of the porte-cochere and then going into the porte-cochere.
Because you need
everyone loves porte-cocheres.
Yeah.
Well, we had models. We had models at the time that we were doing interior shots with. So I literally had the models going in and out of the place just to add some continuity if we want to use it down the future.
So did you get your license, or are you going on the waiver, or are you just kind of begging for?
Oh no, I registered. I actually had a drone before this, one of the earliest drones that had
zero
to no technology.
I forget. So, yeah.
But
so
now
we've lost 2 different drones flying them because we got the license. One we lost on a balcony of a hotel because we were flying around and got too close. And a lot of the hotels we work with are actually condotels, right? So they've got individual homeowners for different units. So not all the units are on the rental program. So we ended up figuring out that the drone went into the balcony of someone that was not on the rental program, and we couldn't get in contact with them that day. And by the time we got in contact with them, they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. So we ended up losing the drone to someone there. And the other one we lost was we went down a beach on a straight line and then pulled it back on the exact straight line. And this was before the regulations got too strict, and you're meant to keep them in your line of sight, right? You're not allowed to let them get out of sight, which at this time, allegedly, I wasn't there. That's what happened. They didn't keep an eye on it, and it came back thought on the same route that it went out, but it had shifted about 20 feet over and ended up hitting a flagpole and just completely smashing.
Well, the technology has improved. This one actually has avoidance on it. It won't hit things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it has. Yeah.
Does that include the ground?
Actually, yeah, and it's got some other weird stuff. That if it loses contact, it'll pause for a minute, and then depending upon battery life, it'll come back and land where it started from.
Yeah.
And it'll avoid stuff. I mean, I was flying it up, and I didn't see one of the cables, power cables, which would have been really bad. Like, and it just all of a sudden, beep, 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 and it stopped, and it was telling me avoidance. And I looked up, and it's like, oh crap, it's close to the cable. So it has that avoidance thing to it. Plus, it has some cool stuff. It launches from your hand, and you can face track it, and then you start running or doing whatever you're doing, it just follows you. Or it'll go 360 around you.
I've
seen
those. Yeah.
I mean, it's the size of like
fishing now as well, where they'll fly out and with the line attached to the drone, they'll find and drop the camera down. They'll look for the school of fish, and then they'll drop the bait right where the fish is. Kind of takes some of the fun out of it, but
all
effective.
Out of it.
Florida Power and Light are using drones now to begin to pull cable between towers. Beginning lead cable stuff, and then the other ones, Australia's using them for rescue, where they can fly out and they have the inflatable thing that they can drop with drones, and I mean they fly them out 10, 15 miles. So here's the question: why
am I not seeing drone footage at most of these hotels? I mean, if even Lauren can make a good video,
right? I mean, if I can run into things with this thing, well, I guess it goes something back to you say is that some people don't want to try some of these little things because one, they don't the expense of it versus what they're actually going to do with it. Then once they get the footage, what are they going to do with it if they don't know how to edit it? So they think they got to get first shot, best shot. I mean, they don't realize that just get a bunch of footage and then go into an editor and start putting it together. Because the video that you saw, me with the fireworks, I took out a chunk at the beginning where it took off. Chunk at the end where it didn't need it.
Whoa. Were you flying at night, Lauren?
Yeah.
You know that's not allowed, right?
No. You can do it in an unobstructed, no people in the area within 150 feet.
Okay.
So I had to find a car wash parking lot.
So no,
and
he wasn't breaking drone laws. He was breaking just normal trespassing laws.
Yeah, trespass laws. I mean, it's just
we were asked to take some of our night shots down. We had a really cool one of the Skywheel in Myrtle Beach at night, and the FAA contacted us and told us we had to remove it because we were not allowed to shoot that.
That's odd because unless you did it over 500 feet, you can fly in night as long as it's not over people.
Well, but here's a more important question. How can the FAA prove that video was shot with a drone? Like, did you advertise that it was shot with a drone?
No, that's true. I mean, you could have argued that it was
like a camera on a crane?
Really tall cameraman, or
like a cherry picker, shot type thing.
It was a long range. Like the shot was a long. I mean, we could have done it in a helicopter maybe, but it was.
How can they prove you did?
Yeah, they couldn't even prove that we recorded it. So we ended up taking it down just to make it go away.
I took some videos when I was in Texas, and one was over by the Alamo. And so I went up to the park rangers and asked, could I just bring the drone up and said, you can't do it over the park. You can do it over across the street, and you can't put it over people, and you can only go straight up. So I go over, and I started up, and kudos to the police. I had asked the park rangers, and then as I go over and I bring the drone up about 5 foot before lunch, please come here. What are you doing? I'm like, I just asked them if I could, and they're like, are you sure? And he went and checked, and came back and says, okay, you can. So, I mean, that's cool stuff because, drones now have an alternative thing. You can do bad things with them too. So, I got some cool aerial footage of the Alamo too that I'm going to piece together.
Got great footage last night from Facebook between Holly and Lauren. Holly sharing a image of the haboob that was going through her neighborhood, and then Lauren with his fireworks drone footage. I mean, it was hours
and dramatic music. Dramatic music.
Oh, I didn't play it with the audio. So.
See, I took some time with the audio. I even put little fireworks things over my logo in the corner.
I saw that because I have eyes. I don't need to hear it. See that.
What is the stats? Like 80% of the videos on Facebook are watched without audio. Something.
Yep,
like
that's why it's important when you shoot video that you think about the fact that a lot of it's going to be played without sound.
Yeah.
And to that end, that Google, when you do the videos, you go back and if it's less than 20 minutes. It will do the translation for you. Now you have to correct it because they're not accurate.
Yeah, poorly. It will do it poorly.
But you can go through and correct it, and now have your own translation on the bottom of it. Which anything short, that's what you have to do. Because to your point, they don't always listen to audio, so you want to make sure the message comes across. So
yeah,
but good stuff. But yeah, drones they're cheap and they're incredibly advanced now compared to what they had been when I first started with them, and they're just fun. I mean, I'm getting better and better with flying it. Now that I got the remote controller, I can go a mile away. So,
are you going to enter the races that they show on ESPN?
No, I don't think I have that coordination skill. That's just crazy to watch that stuff. But yeah, but to your point, Ed, I think that a hotel should, especially for those that are in destination locations or have something to really show, whether it be landscaping or the proximity of stuff. They should definitely put some drone footage together for it.
Yeah, do it as like an intro video or something like that. I will say, though, I mean, I'm all about experimentation, trying stuff that's low barrier to entry. You can borrow someone's drone if you don't want to go spend a few $100 it's going to cost. You can rent them. But definitely educate yourself before you do it. You do have to be conscious of the law, of safety. There's a lot of people out there that are very cavalier. We don't care about privacy on this show, but you definitely need to go educate yourself before you just go do it.
Yeah, you got to put the little barriers on for your little blades so you don't hit people or anything with them. It's just safety things.
Just be conscious. Yeah. Try not to maim or decapitate anyone. It would be frowned upon.
Chase small animals or anything like that. Nothing like that. But yeah, actually, I'm going to go play with the drone a little later today. I want to try to fly it down the street where I lose sight of it and fly it back. Now that I have my.
I didn't think you're allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah,
you had to keep line of sight the whole time.
Now you can during daylight hours and you're not above 500 feet. You can
below 500.
Is in Florida.
Yeah. South Carolina
rules. We don't have no stinking rules.
So speaking of which, all of you have fingers. All your fingers still.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You blew them off this week.
I did go down to the beach for like probably about 9 p.m. or so, and it's I don't know if you've ever been to somewhere where there's really no regulation for firework on the beach, and it is insane. There's literally every 20 feet there's another family just putting down thousands of dollars of fireworks and just shooting them off willy-nilly. And a lot of them are angled out towards the ocean, right? So you feel pretty safe. But then you get the odd one where it slips in the sand or someone's just not thinking and they come shooting over your head. So it's
pesky thing known as an ocean breeze.
Yeah, exactly. The wind always coming back in. So, but it's a spectacular thing for like 2 straight hours of just nonstop. And you can look for miles both ways of the beach, and you can see the official ones that the cities put on or the private clubs put on, but then it's just all amateurs all the way down. It's so much fun to watch.
Yeah. It's actually, even though they're completely illegal in the state of Florida, most of the aerial fireworks without correct license, still, it's so heavily done here that we go see 2 different professional ones each year because, man, some of the professional fireworks shows here are insane because you have all these techs who, professionally work at Disney or Universal or any of these places that have fireworks every night that then get hired out to do much bigger shows for cities. And those shows are fantastic. But then you go back to like our neighborhood and almost everyone is shooting off completely illegal fireworks, which in Orlando, you're without the correct licensing and without a fire marshal and all of that stuff, you're not supposed to do anything that goes more than 5 feet off the ground.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, it's it's a little different when you see these massive mortars going off and everything. You're fairly certain that person's not licensed and that they don't have a fire marshal sitting with them.
Yeah, I guess it's unpoliceable that time of year. There's so many,
Well, and because there's so many events going on too, so Red Hut and Boom is the really big event that happens here. It's on July 3rd. It's actually our corporate apartment overlooks the area that does it. So we tend to do a party there every year where we can sit inside in the air conditioning and hear the concert as if we were outside, see the fireworks as if we were outside, but not get rained on. Red Hut and Boom, their fireworks are so strong that actually a new construction building had finished a few years ago, just before the fireworks show, and the percussion from the fireworks exploding actually cracked the water main in the building.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, it's serious. It's put on by the major radio station here, and they get about 200,000 people to it every year because it is the best one.
We got rained out for the most part down this year. I mean, Cape Corals was the latest to launch because they usually try to compensate for any early rains because of that time of year. But that was the only one that went. Fort Myers kind of washed out. Sanibel closed theirs, and Fort Myers Beach closed theirs just because we had those nasty downpours. Right now, the weather pattern is crazy. I mean, I asked Ed, it's like when he comes down, we get on the boat, does he mind being out in the rain with the lightning? And he's all for it. He was like, sure, hey, hang out with you in the lightning.
Well, we know it's going to hit you, not us. So.
Yeah, it ain't going to hit me.
That's right. So do we want to turn this into a hotel marketing conversation?
Let's do it as a hotel marketing. Did by any chance, did Myrtle Beach do the weekend before, or is the weekend after July 4th more busier for you for this?
Yes, both are really busy.
The whole thing, really? Okay.
Yeah. It's when it's on a Wednesday like this, people kind of, some go before, some go after. So it's if it's on a Thursday or a Tuesday, people tend to go the weekend is closest. But when it's bang in the middle, I think it was pretty much fully occupied last weekend and this weekend. Actually, I've heard people this weekend trying to find places and resorting to, I don't know if you've seen this, there's a couple of sites now that's like renting an RV. So it's kind of like Airbnb. If you own an RV or a camper, you can put yours on there and people can rent it out. So I've got some friends that have them, and what they do is they go set it up at a local campsite and then they rent it out because people can't find hotel rooms. So,
you rent it out without keys, so that way it doesn't get driven away. Because the problem with RVs is, most people have never driven something that size before.
Right. Yeah, that's when they go and set it up for them, and then they,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Cool. From another angle of something is that Ed and I were talking, I think yesterday, and came up the idea that there's been a lot of early inquiries about budgeting for 19.
Have you seen that, Stuart?
More so than have you seen that pop up?
I haven't really heard much. I mean, I'd say budgeting in general has tended to get earlier.
Did you want to pause and ask the people on your team who actually speak to people before you answer?
No, I'm very hands-on with my clients.
Stuart's right there in the fray.
Yeah. No, we really don't start having major budget conversations until really September is when it kicks up. I mean, end of August, but really it's September when people really start getting serious about it.
Well, I don't know whether
most of our hotels are summer vacation destinations, so they're completely slammed this time of year.
Yeah. No, I'm getting earlier inquiries to do. One of the things that we offer is to do annual audit reviews of service providers, just to say, hey, is this something renewable? Is this what we're looking for next year? Is it doing what we expected this year? So forth and so on. And we're just getting early requests for those, and a lot of, how is this going to impact 19's budget? Is there something we can save off of this? Do we need to expand the budget? These questions seem to be just coming up a little earlier. I usually get them in August. I usually get these kind of things when we start getting budget review stuff in August. Yeah. But for some reason, the questions are coming now, and it's like, oh, okay,
that's interesting.
Just
have you asked them why? Have you said this is, why? You
no, actually, until I talked to Ed yesterday, we really hadn't compared notes to say, this has been something different.
And do you really go back ask someone why they're doing their job the way they should?
I'm just curious when there's a change. Did something? Was there a reason behind that change? This also finally not Slack. Oh wow!
Yeah.
Why are you not Slack anymore?
Yeah.
What? But they also kind of get hand in hand with another conversation that and now we're having, and that was that there seems to be a prevalent interest in digital marketing. What to do in digital marketing? Management companies that seem to be very focused on making decisions related to digital marketing. A lot of conversations coming up and questions coming up, and it kind of went that way through high tech. And it seemed to be a general conversation, even when I was just talking with people, that there was a lot of buzz about whether the integration of digital marketing to their strategies or just digital marketing solutions in general. But it seemed a very persistent interest, more so than remember, really. People talk about digital marketing, but usually either you inspire the conversation or it comes up in a particular context. This seems to be just general increased interest. I don't know. Do you getting a lot of
inquiries? It's like 1998. People now are just getting interested in digital marketing.
Yeah, they heard about this internet thing and they're thinking they might want to hop on the wagon. But no, it's
this interweb thing seems to be something.
Yeah, it's not a fad anymore. It's been around.
I should look at putting things on the line.
Yes,
on the line. Yeah. And I used to get phone calls. We're in South Carolina. It's an interesting group, but I used to get folks that would call that say, "I need me a website. I need me a website." Yes, you do.
A website.
Yeah. You are correct.
Yes,
you are correct.
We need more than websites. Well, you're in luck. We have plenty in stock.
That's right. We have our deluxe package.
Yeah. But no, it just seemed to be two different things that seem to be happening that may be hand in hand, mutual interest of it or not, but just seems to be a little different than I remember it last year, even early discussions or so forth. But anyway, promotional wise, I mean, since you have such a summer drive going on in Myrtle Beach, what are some things that have worked well for summer for you for promotional campaigns and so forth that you may have done?
Being open.
Being open helps.
That helps. You know, it's really, there's not really a secret sauce other than understanding your guest, what motivates them, and how to communicate with them, and doing that in the way they want to be communicated with, you know, an appropriate level with appropriate messaging. Trying to, you know, remind people you don't have to rely on discounts this time of year. Not everyone listens to us, but, you know, people are going to come. And it's been an interesting year. I've looked at a lot of different summer destinations, like the annual vacation kind of destinations, and a lot of them were slow to behind pace for the first quarter or so of the year. And we've been trying to convince people not to panic, not to start dropping rates, not to do that fire sale kind of thing, and saying people are going to come. They're going to come. You know, consumer confidence is pretty high. You know, that people have a little more money in their pocket, generally speaking. Gas prices aren't outrageous because a lot of them are driving markets. Job. Yeah, the unemployment is really almost non-existent at this point, you know, for people that want a job. People are going to come on vacation. You know, there's nothing really preventing them unless there was some kind of natural disaster or catastrophe. So, you know, we've been telling people to hold up, and yeah, lo and behold, everyone's, you know, Junes and Julys have looked really strong. So they were beginning to panic in March and April when June wasn't filling in as quickly as it typically does. But, you know, if you have a good product and you've got a good reputation and you treat people the right way, you don't have to rely on discounts. You know, you just...
Oh, and by the way, if you put in the effort to sell your value proposition, you could probably start looking at, are you pricing enough? Because really, if you think about it, people will pay for what they see as a value.
Of course, yeah. Especially when there's scarcity going on, which in a lot of destinations this time of year, like 4th of July, there's a lot of scarcity and people are willing to pay a premium. And I think you've got to be careful. There's a point at which there's pushback, right? If you're charging $1,000 a night for a rat hole, you know, second row in a beachfront destination, you're probably going to get some negative reviews from that. But I agree. I think yielding rates appropriately is really good. We have one client we picked up about 9 months ago. They have one rate plan for the whole year. It's weekday price and weekend price, and it's the same the whole year long. And we're like, you are leaving so much money on the table. It's unbelievable. So definitely knowing when the demand is, talking to others in the destination so you're not in isolation. That's what we find is really helpful for a lot of our clients, because we find, you know, a new destination, pick up one or two clients, and they're living and breathing on their own data, and they're not talking to their chamber, they're not talking to other groups in the area, so they really don't have an indication of how the market's doing in general, and so they end up, oh, we're down, we need to drop rates, but then you find out it's the market in general is down, so just wait it out.
Is Myrtle Beach, when it comes to employment, for seasonality for employment, are they hard pressed? I know it's not a marketing question, but do they find it hard to find talented people? I think, you know, and it's not just Myrtle Beach, all our clients. I think in every conference I go to and have been for the last 12 months or so, I think the labor shortage is a challenge, you know, and especially in high demand destinations like a Myrtle Beach or a Panama City or somewhere like that, where you have a lot of people that are coming in on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and you're having to turn over a lot of rooms, and you don't have the housekeeping. It's a challenge. And if you look at negative reviews over the last couple of years, there's been an increase from what I've seen with our clients of people complaining about the wait that they have to endure when they get there. But
number one thing talked about in Myrtle Beach is peak season last year.
Yeah, exactly. And Ed did some really good data analysis on that. You want to talk about the insight you guys got by looking at the correlation between length of stay?
What's neat with Myrtle Beach is we have their top 35 properties on the platform as part of a cooperative with the chamber. And so with that, and it's been just over a year that these properties have been on. And so we collect, as part of our engagement, we collect the high points and low points of someone's experience, and we also collect a photo and then a story about their favorite memory. And taking all those data points and running it through some analytics and some AI, was able to bring back some really interesting data insights off of it, because we don't ask multiple choice questions. It's an open text field. So what do you want to talk about? And what's interesting is among the most dissatisfied people, the majority of them, the vast majority of unsatisfied people, had a mention of an issue with the front desk or check-in being delayed. What's interesting is then we started looking at that deeper, because everyone who's in this hotel industry knows that if you fall short at the check-in experience, people are going to be hypercritical of the rest of their stay.
That's the tone, yeah.
But what's interesting is you would think when you're picking the order of which you check people in, when you have to prioritize and queue, that it would be smart to check in the most valuable stays first. But what we actually found is the shorter stays are the ones most sensitive about being delayed on check-in. So the shorter the stay, the more prevalent the dissatisfaction was about an hour or two delay in check-in. People who stayed longer, the longer the stay, you still will see some mention of it, but it's very light, and it's almost in a forgiving mention of, hey, had a little bit of trouble on check-in, but the rest of the experience over the week and a half was amazing. And these things make sense if you think about it. Someone who's only staying one night, knocking 2 hours off of the time that they can be in their room, you're knocking off large percentage points of their total stay with you. Whereas someone who's there for a week and a half, 2 hours is nothing.
Right. And you have more time to make it up to them with positive interactions throughout the week.
Right. And then we found some other interesting insights. Myrtle Beach has an elevator problem in its peak season. And I actually, to the point where I said to Stuart, I'm like, man, what's up with Myrtle Beach elevators? It's because they only have one elevator vendor that services the whole market. And these buildings all rely heavily on their elevators. During that time, they're being used at a very high rate. And it makes sense. I can show you exactly which hotels are the biggest impact on elevator problems and total guest dissatisfaction.
Yeah, they also have a lot of maintenance issues, just like the corrosion, the salt air, and things like that. And they're old. It's an aging market. A lot of the infrastructure is old as well. So.
Yep. Now that being said, too, though, is we also saw correlation in price point versus dissatisfaction. So the same exact hotels that get very consistent complaints about specific issues that, it's just obvious that is an issue with that hotel that does not change regardless of season. We actually found that in the winter months when they're at their cheapest, they get 0 guest complaints about those issues, even though those issues still exist. So, there's also price does drive expectation.
Yeah.
And if you're priced above the expectation that you can deliver, you're hurting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I asked the original question about the labor thing was I thought it very interesting in my trips through Texas a week ago was in San Antonio. All the restaurants in their main window had huge banners indicating what they paid per hour. Like, we pay $12 an hour, please apply with benefits, immediate start benefits, blah, blah, blah. And I thought it was amazing because, culturally, there's such a mix in San Antonio. And also with San Antonio, it's like, there's areas you drive through town where you're like, wow, ghost town. This used to be whatever it is, and now it's gone. But then you get down by the river, and it's like massive construction of things that are being built and so forth. So it's just this polarity as to how the city's growing. Yeah. And all of that nexus down that tourism area downtown, every restaurant had, like, somebody started it and then everybody duped it. I pay $15 an hour. I have benefits that start immediately. They're so hungry to get just general online staff to do stuff.
Just raising the price like that, or raising the salary doesn't really fix the problem.
No.
Yeah, we've got our savviest clients are really smart. They kind of saw the shortage coming early, and they align themselves behind, how do we tackle it before it's a problem? And, they've looked at efficiencies. How can we, whether it's centralizing laundry, whatever, to save just labor hours. But they treat their HR now as another marketing expense, so how do we invest in internal communication and external communication in a way that's not only going to help us find and attract the right kind of employee, but also retain the ones that we want to retain as well. So it's a separate marketing line item for some of our clients now for
we
HR
have clients using
marketing.
our platform for HR purposes.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, the audiences, your employees are the storytellers. Their friends and family are either potential employees or potential guests. And then the end result, the UGC from employees, I guess it's employee generated content, EGC, is really effective to put in front of potential candidates.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. That's neat.
Yeah, it is. It's a really effective strategy, and actually, you get to know some interesting stuff about your employees, about how much working there means to them, or at least how much they're saying it does because they want to win whatever it is you're doing.
Well, I mean, our industry is historically terrible about wages and pay and compensation and so forth. So we're not exactly the step up program where people are like,
no one gets into hospitality for the money,
right? Yeah. But considering some of the Florida market problems, actually, I have to say also in Texas. So going back to Dallas and kind of running through the old haunts, I hadn't gone out to the legacy area in Frisco, which is the closest to Toyota new corporate world headquarters. 18,000 new people came into this market in the past 18 to 24 months, and so this huge wasn't there before. Now it's there. Metropolis has grown up. And I mean, all top end restaurants. It's like going down South Beach for a mile, where it's all these restaurants with nothing but valet. There's no parking other than valet. All these crazy places and high end retail and everything else. And the issue that was in the news that we caught was they can't get enough staff to work the restaurants. They can't get enough staff to work any of the business out there because nobody can afford to live close enough to it. And It's such a pain to get you that people are just deciding they're not going to get jobs out there, and they're paying premium hourly stuff is what they're saying, but they still can't get the people to come out. And to that end, Florida has that problem. Naples is one where most of the people, and this even calls for the public service people, the policemen and the firemen, they can't live in the very town that they work because it's just they've been priced out. The standard mean income can't afford to live in that market, and so all these sub areas have been built where they have to live and commute in.
Yeah.
So
Myrtle Beach buses in hundreds and hundreds of housekeepers every day. They go as hour
like Key
plus
West
outside of Myrtle Beach and
Dubai.
bus them in.
Yeah,
it's crazy. A lot of our clients too have gone to they've tried to look at what can be outsourced. So either finding partners to provide services or like reservations. A lot of them now are using virtual call center agents. We actually created some software because we've got the online booking engine, and one of the challenges was they'd have to to set up a virtual reservationist, they'd have to get like a VPN set up so they could connect to their legacy PMS system, and then they'd have to send them hardware because it was hard to get people to set that up for themselves. So it was a whole ordeal. So we ended up creating a web-based version of our booking engine that's internally facing, so it has some of the extra features that a reservationist wants. So, and we've actually embedded it in a couple of actual call
and to be
center
clear,
solutions
all versions
now.
of Stewart's booking engine are web based.
Of course, yeah, but why wouldn't they be?
Right.
This is 2018. That's a shot across the bow at some of our competitors. But So anyway, we ended up just through necessity creating this solution that embeds into the call center piece, but the reservationists now don't need multiple screens, don't need to interact at all with the PMS because they're doing it through a very user-friendly interface to book, modify, cancel reservations. And what it's allowed our folks to do is turn on new reservationists really quickly, and then if they don't work out, they can cut their access. So it saved them money in terms of outsourcing that component of the business.
Yeah, the call centers in general are not what they used to be. The area that we're in, that the Flip 2 office is in, this used to be like the mecca of call centers for Central Florida. And after the financial crisis, most of the call centers just never came back to have massive offices. So in the area we're in really nice office space for dirt cheap, because this whole area's just got 40, 50,000 square foot office units that are empty because they used to be a call center, and the call centers are all distributed. And what's nice about the distributed workforce, anyways, is you can go to where people who have the most talent are and let them stay where they are. And that actually has some interesting economies to it, because you may find that someone in Wyoming is really, really good for a specific skill set you need, and they don't need as much money as they would if they were in New York.
Yeah, they'll trade the money for flexibility of schedule and things like that.
But you can also pay them more than they would make in Wyoming, and still be paying substantially less than you're paying.
Double happy.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, there's people that I have on ad hoc that are exactly what you're saying, that are in markets that the standard of living allows them, and I pay them what I would pay people in prime markets, and they love the fact that they're getting paid such a high-end amount of money for a fact that in their lifestyle that they can afford so much. Omaha, Kansas City, these are places that have very talented people that are happy to work from where they're at to do what it is that you need. To that end, one of in New York, and you know which one I'll be talking about, I'm changing how we're handling our social engagement and our level 1 consumer engagement. That the hotel has fallen down on their ability to get back to, can I get a copy of my receipt?
You're pulling it off of the unioned employees back.
Pretty much, and basically putting teeth to it that this person can push people around and get this stuff done.
Zero incentive to actually serve the customer.
What do you mean zero incentive? They have zero incentive. They have no purpose in life to go over and actually make sure this thing's going to sell. But the idea of it is that we're melding the social reaction to also level 1 guest services, and using the bot that we have and stuff is to keep a dialogue with them as well. And it's working so far, where we're actually being able to solve more problems than are being created from it. It's just still an overwhelming amount of conversation that has to go on with this. But
do you think unions talk about robots a lot?
I'm thinking probably not.
You don't think they do? You don't think they see that as a threat?
They probably talk about how can we neutralize robots. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I was about to say that's probably the only topic of the but
coming into the.
You cannot replace housekeeping.
How can the front desk union of New York City, find a way to get the robotics economy to join their union? To join their union, so that
join the union, robot union. If we're gonna have a space force, we might as well have a robot union. I mean.
Hey, listen, you laugh, but it's not just robots. I mean, look at McDonald's. Have you been to a McDonald's that now has the touchscreen ordering system?
Yeah. Do your own work, and you can actually have it mobile order.
I go to it versus, like even if there's no one in line, I'll do the touchscreen over talking to one of their employees.
There's some in Europe where you can't order at the desk. You have to use the touchscreen.
Well, speaking of Europe, even the banks, I was blown away last time I was there, is that the banks aren't banks like they are in the U.S. It's not like you can go up and get money from the bank or even have tellers. It's like you go in and it's like an office, and you have to make an appointment.
There are countries in Africa that their entire economy is SMS-based. Like you get paid via SMS, you pay for things via SMS. Like there is no physical banking.
China and the WhatsApp, it's the same thing.
No physical currency at all.
Right. Yeah, no banking system really. It's all like it's being co-opted by these.
Could you imagine our economy without a banking system?
It's crazy.
We'd be.
But they said it solved problems, right? It happened because in some of these places, you'd have to carry cash from place to place, and it wasn't safe. If you had to go buy something 50 miles away and you had to travel, and you could get mugged, whatever in between. So it saved a lot of issues. Same as China. China adopted the mobile payment a lot faster than the US because they didn't have the credit cards. It was another cash-based economy, and it came in and just I think America will catch up, but it's just going to be slower than the rest of the world.
Well, and it's going to be some bastardized version of it where the banks still somehow keep power.
Yeah, but I mean
they're not needed anymore. I mean, realistically, in this day and age, you don't need banks as they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True. Going back to one thing though, is that even with unions, even with robots and so forth, the two departments that are almost impossible to replace right now is housekeeping and engineering. Those are two still physical needed staffing departments. Other departments.
Have you seen the beds that self-make? Have you seen those videos?
No, I have not. I've seen some short sheeting ones, but not the ones self-making ones.
The problem is they make themselves with the same sheets, so you're gonna still have to change.
Detail.
Yeah,
but hotels, and it's true. It's been a prevailing conversation, even when I was at the HOA conference and so forth. Is talking about finding talented help and finding it in the markets that they're in. It's just getting harder and harder for people to find them. So, maybe
I'm surprised there's not more investment in how do you make the turnover process more efficient. How can you create a room that's comfortable to live in but doesn't require the amount of time that it does to turn it over. I think if someone cracks that, if you could cut that time in half but still give the same standard of quality of comfort and cleanliness, I mean, everyone would want to invest in that.
True. Maybe a different amenity side to it. But anyway, hey, I have one question out of Skiff that I was surprised that neither of you pointed out as something to talk about, and that is the Star Wars parks opening simultaneously. Just saying, little insight as to what's going on real soon. Like the name of the
I want to actually see the inside of that place. I mean, I've seen all the specs that they put out initially with the concept drawings.
So
and things like
my
that.
plan is, as soon as the park is in testing, is to use every single possible connection I have to make sure that I get to see it before it opens to the public. Because you won't be able to touch it for 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
That hotel, I guarantee you the Star Wars hotel will be the highest ADR hotel in Central Florida for the first 5 years that it's open.
No question.
Can you imagine that? I mean seriously,
have either of you stayed at any of the Disney properties here?
I stayed at the All-Star Sport Park.
Okay, which is one of the crappier properties. Mm-hmm. How much did you pay?
I don't remember. It wasn't that much. It was less than $100 a night. It was off-season.
Then you were here in off-season. So
it was like February.
In not off-season, so not even peak. In not off-season, they're getting $200 to $300 a night for that hotel. In peak season, they're getting upwards of $500 a night for a hotel that, if it was not where this hotel is, would be struggling to get $60 a night in peak. It's not a great hotel. The Grand Floridian, every time I look now, is over $1,000 a night.
Oh, yeah. What do you
think Star Wars is going to be? It's probably like $1,500 a night.
I bet you for the first 6 months, it averages $1,500 to $1,600 a night.
Yeah, it's almost worth getting a reservation just to sell it to some. I mean, if you're not even going to be able to go, because you can't let it go. I mean, just to give it. Okay, so it's supposed to be called the Black Spire Outpost, is what the village is going to be called, on the planet Batuu.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, it looks awesome. Have you seen any of the recent flyovers of it and everything? I mean, it's really cool. And Toy Story Land opened last week. And let's see, what was it? On the 4th, it was within 45 minutes of opening, all the rides had over 80-minute waits.
Jeez. I mean, that's crazy. I'm sorry, that's just crazy.
And Disney has now created a mobile game to play while waiting in line.
That's smart. They're the masters of making you time fly when you're not doing anything. They really are.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Well, and listen, I mean, there's some smart design happening in theme park stuff. So, have either of you been to the Harry Potter parks here in town?
Not yet.
So, the Hogwarts Express, you can now ride it between the two parks. It's an amazing ride.
Yeah.
But it actually, you feel ripped off when there isn't a line, because there was so much detail put into the queue that if you go through it too fast, you miss a lot of it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting what they did on that, because that just going between the two parks can have a 2-hour wait. Could you imagine dedicating 2 hours of your day? You can literally walk out the front of one park and go 150 feet and walk inside the other park. But to take the train...
So how many days to be able to spend the time in the lines to do all these rides and do everything you're supposed to see in this park? You need to be 3 days in the park to do that.
Yeah, or if you go at the right time, you can do both parks at Universal in about 6 hours. Everything.
Yeah.
Every ride, you can get it done in about 6 hours, or go during peak, you'll get one ride, one attraction, and a meal.
One thing I noticed out of this Disney World that with the hotel that they're talking about is that the windows there won't be actually facing out. They're going to be screens that look like you're in space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The concept it's in a space station, right? You're actually
and it's gonna craft a story for you that continues throughout the park and throughout your stay. Like you're a character, and it's at the end you'll have your own crafted journey that you'll be able to review. It's
I'm gonna quit my job and just move there and work. I'm just gonna work there.
You could probably easily get a job on the Imagineering team just because you're about everything. You could be.
Maybe
They get paid well too.
Well, you heard it here first. I'm quitting. So
there was going to be an Imagineer.
So okay, from a high end hotel point of view, I'm actually putting together. From now until the end of the year, we did this whole whiteboarding on projects and packages, which is what inspired me to first ask you earlier on, Stuart, what you guys were doing for summer and so forth. Because in this market that I'm dealing with right now, the New York market for this hotel in particular, it's boutique, upper end. And so we started doing these experience-driven packages. And the packages are not just because we want to put a bunch of packages on, but we're offering two variations because rather than just creating one identity to something, we said, hey, look, some people want to do it themselves and others want it done for them. So we're offering kind of two levels where these experience-driven packages are tailored, for food tours, for museum tours, if we get the docent to go over and be meeting them or whatever. Picnic in the park could be where literally the hotel will stage the picnic in the park with a local restaurant as the feature, or here is your basket and go have fun at the park. So, I mean, do you have any hotels that? We're building it now. We're going to be launching it when we hit the boom after Labor Day. Where the weather's still good, and there's things that people can do in New York without necessarily family orientation and so forth. They can kind of get away for what time and so forth. And we're kind of piecing it together. We're also trying to do train adventures, bringing in from the feeder markets, from the trains, that we can combine all that. Transportation from the airports.
If you pull that stuff off, you're going to smoke most of the hotels in your comp set because none of them are doing anything like that.
Then that's the reason why we inspired this was just like, okay, look, everybody else is just rate and room. That's just rate and room. And we're saying, no, I mean, the hotel is unique. Every hotel has its own character, but this one has a unique interior to it as well. And it's going through a refurb of everything. It's kind of modernizing itself.
Right.
And so it's going to
keep a retro flair to it because it's an older hotel, right?
Yeah, it is an older hotel, but it's not old Tuscan. It's going to be old Metro. In the sense it's going to be retro Metro.
Retro Metro.
Retro Metro. It was based on more of the old marble dark wood thing, and that's getting pulled out for more of the nostalgic city Metro deco. Not even deco. That's not even fair to say. Just Metro kind of look to the place to it, but yeah.
We're not really doing packages like that. I mean, we've tried doing more complex kind of here's your itinerary kind of stuff in the past, and it's had lukewarm kind of reception. And again, a lot of our destinations are beach destinations. People are coming for the beach. They just want to sit.
It's a simplified journey
for a week. It is, but where we've had a lot of success bundling is giving people options to add on stuff, whether it's discounted attraction tickets, show tickets, what things like that. But where we've really had a whole lot of success is in on-property stuff. So what we're trying to do is as the ADR goes up and people may not want to spend as much while they're on vacation, we want them to spend what they do spend with us as much as they can. So looking at how can we incentivize them to stay on property for more meals, for whether we create events on property that include food, whether we a lot of our properties now have gotten into not just the old style arcade room where it's got like an old Street Fighter 2 and a pinball machine and a Pac-Man, but actually investing pretty heavily in a very well crafted, well thought out experience, almost Dave and Buster's level on a smaller scale. With tickets and redemption and stuff like that.
Much smaller though.
No, they're not. Some of them are pretty big, and you can lease a lot of these machines. It's not that expensive, but it's a huge revenue stream for a lot of our clients, and it's a great value add. So it's something where we done packages like stay, eat, and play for whatever, and you get the room rate that you want, and then you give them, say, $50 food credit and $50 game card credit for the length of their stay, if it's a 7-night stay, and you're driving them to do stuff on property, or pre-stay during the booking process. Do things like if you spend $10 now, you get a $20 game card. So incremental upsells, things like that. That's had a lot of success and driving a lot of new revenue for our folks.
And in New York, I would kind of lightly go into it first, because I agree with Stuart. You do run risk of it going over lukewarm, and putting in an infrastructure to prepare for this, of like a team that could go and set up something in the park or set up the relationship with the restaurant, like all of that stuff. That's investment. I would start light, and I would start with stuff that can just enrich the journey. Like, gosh, I mean, how many cool neighborhoods of New York City are there that never get talked about? Create a couple of guides for the off the tourism path, New York City. Favorite restaurants around the different neighborhoods of New York City. Staff's picks for must see. And any other insider tips that may do what you're hoping to do. Because again, most of the hotels in New York City aren't doing that.
Right. No, we are. That's why we did split it, where we're doing for those who want it done for them versus the ones that just want to do it for themselves. We're doing with the for yourself one first, which is the easier one, which is here's your discount tickets, here's your passes, or here's whatever it is, and gauging the interest level of it before we go, as you say, into the investment of saying, now we're going to create these relationships with restaurants or find local tour guides. And one of the things we did point out with them was pick the local tour guides that are the most interesting, not the standard, you can pick it off the internet kind of ones, but the ones that really, truly, to your point, know the boroughs and know something unique about these things, not just this is the New York deli you go to and this is the pizza place you go to, but rather these are the very neat places. We have another one that we're actually looking to, and was inspired by one of the front desk people, that is nightclub driven, where there are just certain cool clubs that most people don't know about, that you have to be in the market as a local to know, but to have access to those ones by getting VIP cards out of them and incentivizing them to go over to it. But
problem with that is really clubs would be like, no, thank you.
Right. Well, unless you have to pay for. You have to pay for it. But now, one thing that was a lot of fun that I would definitely recommend anybody to do with their hotels is we sat down and actually went through, and once we described what kind of guest profile we're looking for, which was the business traveler at the time, is all the pain points associated with the day as it goes through the time cycle. Like, what's the pain point in the morning? Breakfast. Okay, what are we doing about breakfast? What's the closest proximity for best breakfast? What kind of breakfasts can we offer? And went through, okay, now when you come back, and to your point, Stuart, with the kids, or not that the business travel had, but with going through the profile, when you're back, there's this lull point before dinner or after dinner. What can they do? And you're talking about like the arcade and things like this. But if you really break down the timeline of the engagement of the hotel with the staff, you really see a lot of eyes open up where like they hadn't thought about that. Theirs is just the engagement points that they have at the front desk, or when housekeeping's in the room, or when there's an issue in the hall, or whatever. But they never really thought about the life cycle of a guest's engagement with the hotel from their perspective. And I mean, if you haven't had that conversation with staff, you should have, because it really does make them re-aware of the fact of the touch points that they miss.
Yeah. Well, the opportunities to create touch points that would benefit the guest,
Right. Yeah.
You're looking for reasons to reach out to them proactively, because they're going to have a pain point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very true for it. I know we didn't have any topics.
I stayed at the club quarters in Houston for high tech. They had umbrellas for everyone. For all of their
nice touch.
They had umbrellas.
Touch. Nice touch.
Yeah.
That was an amazing touch. Like that stuck with me. And you could hear people talking about it outside. Like, can you believe they had enough?
And were they logoed? Were they logoed the property?
Some of them were, but I mean, some of them just I'm sure
they needed extra probably that week.
They needed extra ones,
but even that, throw a sticker on it. Like it's not that hard. But like the appreciation was there.
Yeah. And I like that kind of personal touch. We've also got a couple of properties that do unique kind of offerings, which are, they're not packaged, but they're add-ons that you can kind of choose yourself. But there's one property does campfire, kind of time, and they'll give you a s'mores kit, stuff like that, and maybe do sing-alongs or stories by the campfire, which is pretty neat. We actually had an email today from someone that stumbled on our podcast, and they said they're in Jamaica, and they said that they didn't really do a whole lot. They were bored for 4th of July, and that I guess they're American. They even celebrate 4th of July, but they found our podcast and listened to 12 episodes back to back. And they were just saying some of the things they got from it, which is pretty cool. That's not how I would want to spend my 4th of July, but hats off.
How bored in Jamaica do you have to be to listen to a binge listen?
Yeah. Or what were you doing in Jamaica where time was so easily eaten up by a podcast?
I don't know. And our episodes are like an hour long, so that's literally 12 hours nonstop.
Fuel's 420 podcast.
Anyway, but the reason I say that is that her property has a tree house that you can rent out. So a lot of people, for like wedding anniversaries or proposals or whatever, they get a butler service dinner in the tree house, which I thought was really cool.
Playa Largo has a night experience where you can have dinner with your toes in the sand, and one of my head of marketing, Diane, just did it, but you actually have to personally write the head of food and beverage and ask if it's available, and then if it is, it's in the sand. It's a low table, you're sitting in the sand eating your meal. Like, it's a really nice setup. They don't even market it, you just have to know about it. And that type of stuff too is pretty interesting.
Yeah. One of the other things that we put together for New York as a tour thing was the secret menu tour. There's another one that got thrown up where there's a lot of places that have those kind of unbroadcasted things that you can do. And it's literally, you can go do these funky different things that most restaurants don't advertise, but that you can take advantage of if you know that they're there. So that was one of the other ones we came up with. It's just fun stuff like that, particular interests, but, again, things that can be used. Okay, so I want to create a little bit of controversy because I know how Ed's going to react to this. Yeah, on this show, I am going to do something here. I'm going to show you a tool because I told you that one of the things I had thought about was doing lead research because I was working with Holly. She's trying to help promote the Chinese auction for the hsmai Phoenix chapter. And so I was helping her find who in industry-wise can go over and she could reach out to. So this plugin, which is I think called Point That Lead. You go in here and you go into Google Maps and you type in, I'm just going to do restaurants. Okay. And it'll pull up in geographic area restaurants. Then you hit the plug-in and it will pull in all these restaurants as a list. And then you can go over and hit the leads and it will go over and pull up who it knows in those venues. Hold on a second here. Oh, I keep doing this backwards. But it'll pull up here, select all. Here we go. And then hit the leads.
In hindsight, it's intuitive.
Yes, in hindsight, it's intuitive. But then it'll pull up the people that it knows in contacts of all those ones, which is kind of neat. So if you wanted to reach out to individual restaurants, individual people to go over and make contact with them, it's called Go Pin Leads.
Go Pin Leads. It's pretty
interesting.
interesting.
That was just a neat little tool. It's a neat little tool that you can.
Why would this be a problem to talk about, Lauren?
Well, because you sometimes don't like people having tools and toys.
No. I want to be clear. I like people who think through why they would want to use this. And so where you made this not an issue is you actually talked about the problem it was solving, which is a real problem that Holly had, that this is actually a pretty clever solution for. That is the opposite of the reaction I have to the things that you're like, look, I can now put cartoon heads on all the animals on my street. Great, Lauren. You can now put cartoon heads on animals. Like, fantastic.
Very useful tool.
And then you wanting to talk about how hotels could use the cartoon animal head tool to do something in marketing. That's the difference.
Everybody needs
I'm not anti-new tool. I'm anti-useless tool.
Okay, nice distinction. This is another one that I use.
Whoa! Did you just call Lauren a useless tool?
I did.
He did call me a useless tool. He did. Yeah, he called me useless tool. This is another one that I use for Holly as well. It's called Find That Lead, and you can pick categorically what you're looking for. Okay, location, job title, company, industry is what I use for her, and it creates leads up in that market. It'll look for everybody based on the criteria you've created, and it'll put a list together, and then it'll go over and append those to see with confidence let's see if I have one opened up. No. Campaigns, here we are. No, not there. Where is
so
it?
If you're a hotel and you're listening and you're wondering how the hell so many salespeople have your contact information and are constantly barraging you with what appears to be a zero effort attempt to engage you, it's because tools like this exist where they don't even have to spend all that much effort to find out who you are. And then they just shotgun approach spamming you all, knowing that a certain amount of you are going to respond because
it's a numbers game, right?
You're very polite. You're
that Gary Vaynerchuk approach of like 0.1% of people will actually respond. So you just need to ramp it up, and you'll get success.
Ramp it up.
Actually, I'm not saying you should do it that way, but
I'll say the mix too is that you go then through the list and really decide who it is you want to reach out based on the fact that it just didn't pull a net, and you're not throwing. Some people use it as a capture everything and just like you said, hey, if I throw it out to everybody, at least I get a percentage out of it. But if you then go through the list and fine tune who it is that it pulled in, and then assign those 10 so that you're really trying to garner the people that you're most identifying with the filter, then it's a useful tool for that as well. This is another fun one that I just want to go over and throw it at, where you can take anything from a blog or post, and this uses artificial intelligence to go over, and once you highlight something, it'll create a video for you. It'll draw the images that you need. It'll put it in sequence, so forth and so on, that you then can use as your own content to post a rendering of what you had in text, which is a nice different way of presenting content.
So this is where Ed's going to have an issue because you're not giving like the specific purpose.
You're faking authenticity. So that's where my issue is.
If it's your own content.
Look at all the effort I put into this for you. No, come on.
See, own content, all, and you can
not everything to be turned into a video.
True. Now, I grant you that.
And video done right is an incredibly powerful tool. However, that line between video done right and garbage is a really thin line. So if you put out garbage video, you're going to see that it doesn't seem to get all the benefit that you keep hearing video does. And you're probably going to mistakenly say, well, video doesn't work. Video absolutely does work. There is no such thing as a length of video that's correct. Because, by the way, if your video is really good, people will watch it all. If you earn every second of your video, you will find people consuming. So right now, we're still at an average where prior to someone who discovers us, either by us outreaching to them with an intro or by them coming inbound, it's an average of around 10 minutes of video viewed by each person. 10 minutes of video.
Now, granted, the AI video developer that I showed you is not necessarily always hotel focused. However, if it is your own content and it is something that you want to render in a different format, it is a wonderful tool.
I want to take my blog and turn it into PowerPoint slides and animate it with some music and call it a video.
I don't know. I'm somewhere in between the two of you because I think tools that make things easier. Not everyone can edit a video, right? Everyone should be able to edit a video because you can go Google it and figure it out. Watch a YouTube video and you'll figure it out in 20 minutes. But
and you'll be more valuable as an employee for knowing
for sure.
To edit.
Some people limited time. If you're a mom and pop and you have limited time in the day, I think a tool like this, if used appropriately, not just slap stuff together with no value proposition.
Your caveat is already defeated.
Why? Because no one's going to do that. I'm saying if
you're
used correctly,
if you're time pressed and you can't justify spending any brain space on video, my recommendation to you would be do the other things you do incredibly well.
Well, for sure.
And you'll be okay.
Agree. But
this is not discounting the fact that block and tackle have to be done first. This is to really, and the reason why I brought up it purposely for this reason, is to show that there is a tool for everything. And depends on what folks have with it.
And it's probably
I know about it. I bought them all, but
there's something else that everyone has too, Lauren.
That's an opinion, right? Okay. I will argue the point, though, that if used correctly, tools like this are functional. because there is a need to translate content into other formats.
It's the most political definition I've ever heard. If used correctly, tools like this are functional.
That's right. Yes,
by the fact that they exist and someone did something with them, that means they performed a function and therefore were functional. You are correct.
Yes. But there are tools out there for just about everything.
Listen, I'm still going to say, if you're going to attempt video and you're time pressed and you can't edit, my biggest recommendation then is not trying to be anything you can't be. Take that cell phone of yours. Think about what you want to say, shoot yourself with a cool background of your property, and talk about something real that your audience will connect with. They will forgive quality issues. They will forgive editing issues.
Yeah, they will. And talk to your existing customers as well. Yep. You know, put them on camera if they're willing to do it, because that's what better way, more authentic conversation. Yeah.
Okay, but to split a hair on this. But to say that you can edit versus editing well is a distinction. And editing well means you can use the functionalities in an editing program compared to I can slap text on top of an image. You go use Spark. Go use dozens of social posting video things you can do that make them look cutesy and all this other stuff. What I'm talking about video creation is to edit, you have to know how to splice, how to overlay, how to do multiple things. And that's a difference that isn't a time consumption. It's an actual skill set. So I will make the distinction in saying that
so don't go into videos that need an immense amount of editing, and don't use a tool to try to make it look good, because the tool will never be as good as someone who's relatively okay at it.
But tools can also augment your inefficiencies of skill. So that's why the tool's great. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying tools do. So these kind of tools will only get better in time.
For a hotel.
And the other thing I'd say about tools sometimes is they can allow you to test something that, maybe you're not sure if you want to invest in video, but maybe there's a tool out there that can help. I think there's different paths than, trying to get into a tool set, especially with video, because authenticity in video can be very powerful. Yeah, I agree. I actually agree with Ed.
People watch this show. People watch this show. Which is 100% proof that you do not need to edit. You do not need to add any value whatsoever. All you need to do is be authentic.
Just have an ad on.
That's right.
Just be authentic. And there will be people who watch it.
Going full circle to our earliest conversation about a drone, why play with a drone when you should do basic video first? Why do fun videos like that when you really need testimonials? Why do videos about your amenities and so forth when you really just need images of what you have as a product?
First of all, the simplest video you can
there's always layers to this.
Is a single scene video. So with a drone, catch a good flyby, and that'll be more powerful than a picture. Throw some music on it. You've got something you can put out there to test if people respond to it. People respond to it, now you have justification for how much you can invest in it.
And to that end, there's the value proposition of what these things are. I mean, this gives you the test of the water to see whether or not that these have some response.
Taking a blog and turning it into an automated.
That was my example I gave you. There's things you can do with it beyond that. That's just the example that I gave you, just because I'd love to get you inspired. And by the way, Holly likes my tools, and doesn't like you, Ed. Just so you know.
That's okay.
And that's okay, yes. I just wanted to throw the tools out there because it is coming to that time. I'm redoing the budgeting calculator that I did last year.
A valuable tool.
A valuable tool. That will be a more
really great purpose.
Yes, I'm actually going to be incorporating direct channel percentage contribution into it so that it would be helpful.
Can you turn it into a video?
I will when I'm done. And I'm going to send it to Ed. Just Ed.
Yeah.
Ed, look at my cool video about my.
It's just going to be like a 1990s like money bag graphic with little shiny bits, all pixelated.
Sparkling. Yes. Gentlemen, was there anything else? I mean, you had the Facebook video that you threw in there, Stuart, that we didn't get a chance to chat about.
Yeah, did you already talk about the Uber video?
We did.
Yes, earlier on we did. We talked about what
do you think of it?
Battle to change the image.
I feel like it came from the PR team, and I think he's genuine, but I don't know that the tone of it, the execution of it came across as genuine to me. But I think they're trying to head in the right direction. I think a lot of consumers will probably respond well to it, but I also think there's a whole lot of consumers that weren't even aware of the issues that they're drawing attention to. So
this is always the challenge when addressing things like this. So I'll give you a perfect example that's related to Myrtle Beach.
The water quality?
No, I saw PR releases from multiple people in Myrtle Beach saying that there was no live shooter issue. All this stuff. And I'm like, the heck are they talking about? There was just a big fight. Well,
so essentially we have, it's Broadway at the beach is like an area that's got shops and restaurants and attractions and stuff, and a scuffle broke out. There was a fight. People were calling it a huge fight. It was a fight. It happens when people are drinking and being stupid, right? Fireworks were going on. Someone shouted out that they saw a gun, and it just spread like wildfire. Like the whole entire area, it was like telephone. Everyone was saying there's an active shooter, and obviously fireworks going off, so you can kind of hear that. And then it got to the point where all the restaurants got all their patrons back and locked them in like kitchens and fridges and stuff, because trying to keep them safe. And it was all just completely fabricated. There was a fight, but it was nothing more than that. But yeah, you're right. They shouldn't be drawing attention to it beyond the people that have already heard of it.
News didn't make it to Florida.
Yeah. But Myrtle Beach had a similar issue a couple of years ago. This is ridiculous. There was it's ocean water. There's going to be bacteria levels in any ocean water. And some local guy started writing nonsensical articles to internal politicians and to the local community about the water levels, and the way it was handled was just it was so bad, and national media started picking up on it and saying, does Myrtle Beach have this water quality issue? So the chamber started running ads saying there's nothing wrong with our water to people that hadn't even been exposed to this thing that was mostly local conversation. It was
yep. And that's a challenge. So sometimes you need to think, is trying to address the issue causing more harm?
Right. Well, to bring it together, it's like there's probably a lot of Uber users that never knew there was a image problem for Uber. Their usabilities were always good. That was fine. But then you get the new president on Uber getting on, and talking about how we're going to make it better. And it's like, then you're sitting there, well, maybe what's wrong? And so you always run that risk that
they never had an NFL player grope them in an Uber. Middle-aged white men have no problem with Uber.
You're talking about my football team now.
Your football team is getting what they deserve by hiring the psycho that they hired to be their quarterback.
The guy that went over and took for fresh food out of the grocery store?
The laughable part is him saying that it's unlike his character.
And it's exactly his character.
Which it's now like the 9th time he's in something like this. So
Yes, unfortunately, I have to agree with you on that. But anyway, besides from that, but it is, and unfortunately, the validation of it is when the chamber or the giant in the room descends down to the squeaking mouse by acknowledging or validating them by addressing it rather than ignoring it.
I've never seen Dara as the giant in the room, though. He's always been a really good, in-touch executive. That's why amazing.
Not for him. I'm not. I'm talking about Myrtle Beach in particular.
He's hardly an ivory tower person.
Right. He's doing the right things. Listening to people. Changing.
Admitting
admitting there was a problem. He's doing the right things. It's just not an external communication needed for that. I think fix the root of the problem, offer a different product or better product, and the problem goes away.
Yeah,
but he actually didn't create an action item
on TV. No, he said, "Stay tuned. I'm still working on it."
Yeah, and obviously internally they've had a lot of action items. They've changed a lot of process and procedure and stuff, and personnel. So. I think real things are happening, but it's going to take a while to make a big impact on the average person. And at the end of the day,
all the rats will get out.
Right. At the end of the day, the labor side of Uber, the people, which is where the problem is, right? These drivers.
One of the problems.
One of the problems is is going to be a moot point in a few years when all their fleet is going to be completely automated, right? The people that are driving for them now.
I'm sorry. Are you being sarcastic?
Yeah. I couldn't No, I'm done. I was going to throw blockchain in there. And do a
little blockchain. When blockchain solves it, yeah. Hey, okay. Then ask a realistic question. What does a hotel do when it gets on the dark side of something like this, where it is the focus of a bad experience, that the conversation, whether it be on social platform or general engagement, has turned into bad experience-driven conversation? How does a hotel dig out of that hole? Do they face it straight on?
It depends what it is, right? It depends. I think you got to look at the risk, the exposure, and the severity, right? If you look at those two things, then you got to make decisions. In general, always hold up your hands and admit when you're wrong. Make it up to that person somehow, whatever you need to do to make it right, and give a clear plan of action to prevent it from happening again.
And to rehab it.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So let me be more specific. Whenever it's contrived, whenever it's taking your Myrtle Beach example of some bogus bullshit, something or other that got thrown around, that got legs to it, started turning to general conversation, and now it's spreading around and it's affecting your business. But it's bogus. You did nothing wrong. There's no bad side to this conversation.
Leave it alone in that case, because
I think you actually see. I think with the water issue, before making it a public thing, you bring in the CDC and have them test it.
Which they did. To be fair, they did.
When it comes back that there's no problem, then you just keep that in your pocket. Right. So if it does flare up, when
individuals reach out, you respond. Here's the information, right?
From the Center for Disease Control.
Right. And that's what the individual properties were doing for a while, right? They had that data. They would get people calling up concerned, and they would respond. Here's the information, right? Some people are still going to leave. Well, the problem is when you shine a light on it or expose it to people that weren't aware of it. That's the big challenge. Had they ignored it, it would have probably gone away pretty quickly. At least if they ignored it publicly and just individually communicated, it would have gone away a lot quicker than it did.
So in general, what you're saying is if you can get some sort of third-party validation of the authenticity of the conversation, then that's a
situation like what happened specifically in Myrtle Beach. You get the governing entity or whoever needs to deal with it professionally, like you get a full investigation launched by those people. Get the investigation done and sit on the report and have the report. So when a news writer comes to you saying, hey, we're getting these complaints of water quality issues in Myrtle Beach, you can go,
yeah, it's nonsense.
How we dealt with it. Right. We took it head on, brought in the experts.
Yeah.
This is the findings of their report. There's no story here.
There was never an issue. There's never a story.
So in the case of where there's no story, like you have to deal in facts and absolutes, but you also don't need to take part in trying to drown it out. Instead, you do it the simpler way, which is we launched a full investigation using external parties who are experts in this field. Here's their report. You're happy to write something if you want now that you have the facts.
Right. What you don't do is run ads on TripAdvisor saying, don't worry, our water's clean. Right. That's kind of what they did. Right. I didn't realize there was a problem. Now I'm going to go read it and Google that. The other thing is still people today, which I would consider smart people in this industry, in this market, that want the chamber to invest in having someone in a lab coat go and do live video testing the water regularly still. And this is an issue that happened 2 years ago that is not in the public consciousness today. Right. So why would you continue that discussion? It's just asinine.
I probably would add just to what you're saying also is that from a functional point of view, that you make sure that you control your messaging internally, that you centralize the voice, you centralize control of it,
you
so that
designate,
you don't get compensations.
Listen,
internal communications is important as external in that
kind
of situation.
On LinkedIn of one of my clients who's having an issue of a norovirus type outbreak at one of their hotels. And you read the news article, and it was a super short news article. Why was it super short? Because they were like, yep, the media has reported this much. This is what we saw. This is the steps we've taken. This is how we're handling it to make sure it doesn't happen any further from, one of the top executives of the company.
Right.
Guess
You're the
what?
right person with clarity of message.
Probably none of you will probably even know who I'm talking about or what. The only reason I saw it is I have this person and this company in a keyword search so that I'll see it. It's not going to get picked up for national news because it's not a big issue, right? Like,
yeah.
So you get out in front of it and you just make sure you show that you're taking it seriously. You're bringing in experts, and here's what the experts find. And then if the experts do find you have a problem, then yeah, you got to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I had a similar issue with a client in New York where there was a perceived water issue and it wasn't, and they had to go through dramatic, quick, responsive steps for kind of similar circumstances where conversation was just going off in different directions.
I mean, fortunately with that crap, there are governing bodies that are supposed to react immediately to any reports of that. So especially if you're reporting your own, you can generally get the test done really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very true.
What I'd be more interested in is, gosh, like, let's think about the more, sticky issues like, having a murder in your hotel, or having bed bugs, or getting cleaned out by gypsies. Any of you ever work with a hotel that's been cleaned out by gypsies?
No, the other two we've dealt with, not the gypsies.
I've had where a room was totally ripped off. I mean, not.
I've had entire towers. I work with hotels that had entire towers cleaned out by gypsies.
Like, when you say cleaned out, like they took all the furniture, all the
bars, everything.
Yeah, I've had it where a room got cleaned out, our electronics, bed, everything, where it's like literally they lugged it out, and I'm like, and this goes before cameras. This was before security cameras were affordable for most hotels. It's like, I was asking my night security, I said, you didn't find it odd somebody was walking out with a freaking king size bed mattress, really? That didn't strike you as, gee, that guy doesn't work for us, and they're walking out of the hotel with it?
If you act like you're supposed to be doing what you're doing, you can get away with that.
Oh, with a lot of stuff, yeah. Unfortunately true.
With a carbon copy piece of paper on it, and no one's going to question you.
Just put on a yellow jacket that says "Stop" on the back. You can buy
so Ed's advice today is make sure you have a clipboard. Which, by the way, who carries a clipboard anymore? I mean, really, not even UPS. They got the little electric thing.
Government employees still carry clipboards.
They do not. Who? Really? Where? Who is that? The water guy. The water guy in Myrtle Beach probably carries a clipboard.
And I want to be 100% clear, Myrtle Beach has no water quality issues, so everyone should come to Myrtle Beach.
Put on a lab coat. Let's do some live coverage of you testing.
I've actually got one. We used to do some funny videos back in the day. I've got a lab coat.
Oh, hey, I got a software that you can do automated ones if you want. I just, in case you want to do an automated.
Stuart, are those videos on YouTube? Because that's kind of a thing amongst our group, is looking up old videos.
Yeah, one of them is still, I think. Oh. We did a remember Will It Blend? Do you remember that concept? Yeah. We did one called Will It Drive with golf for one of our golf clients, and we just got random stuff to see if we could drive it. I'll dig it out. I'll send it to you.
Oh, guess what Ed's doing now? He's digging into the YouTube.
Well, listen, I found an amazing commercial with one of our hosts that I thought we all enjoyed.
Holly, he's bringing it in.
I did not say her name.
She did a great commercial for the time that it was made.
It was actually a really good commercial for a god-awful car.
And that car was, that was quite an asset, according to Holly.
Okay, so a couple of
box.
Yes, that's not kind of box. Okay, so just
real asset.
So that you know, Ed knows this already, but next week, Holly has enticed and Max has accepted. Max Suckoff with Hebs, founder of Hebs, is going to be on the show next week. After that, we will have
same time.
Who's that?
Ed Watkins.
We can have him on the same. Well,
isn't that
I want to get Paolo.
Is that who we're going back and forward on?
Yeah, on LinkedIn. Yeah.
On everything,
Paolo
either of them right. The other one's like the first one to post, and it's always a counterpoint. I'd love to get the both of them on the show at the same time.
We should actually chase them and see, because Paulo's like that. Paulo Torchio, because we used to on the Digital Working Council for hsmai, the conversations between Paulo and Max were legendary. Paulo would sometimes just purposely go opposite of Max just to light him up.
He'd fit in with the show.
I can't stand people who do that.
But it was great conversation.
But still, you really like people who do that, don't you?
They're my favorite people. Yeah.
Then I also have Brian Weiss, which will be joining us from Infor.
What's he do for Infor?
He's Senior VP for marketing, I think is what his title is. I'll have to go look again. Nice guy, but really a tech head. I was talking to him at High Tech and really into coding. So, Stu, if you make that show, it'd be a lot of fun to see what kind of lights up. But he's talking about integrations and combinations and so forth, what they're trying to do on some stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. And then we have Kat from, she is Vice President of Education for Alhoa. Really brilliant girl. She wants to talk a lot about literally some of the stuff we talked about is like retention, education, training of skill sets for within the hospitality industry. She wants to talk a little bit about.
How did your talk go? I haven't talked to you, spoken with you about.
Really? Actually, it was fun because unlike, I mean, everybody in the audience, one thing I did notice is that they're technologically advanced. I mean, they're third generation. They know technology. But I found it amazing the gap between the understanding of technology and its usability in the industry. There's just this, like, they understand how to code. They know how to build an app.
They'd find widgets to create videos from social media posts, but wouldn't know how to apply it.
But they just don't know how to use them.
Lauren was incredibly disappointed that none of them got excited about this video generating app.
Are you kidding me? Everybody loved it.
That's the cornerstone of his talk.
That was the cornerstone of my talk. No, actually, it was kind of fun. I did do what I told you. I was going to make everybody hand their phone over. So I had everybody take their phones out, unlock them, and hand them to the person next to them. And that created a high level of anxiety. I didn't ask them to open up the photos yet. I just went over and said, hey, and then I'm getting anxious. And then I went over and I told them to take it back so they would listen to what I was going to say. But then face down, put it on the table in front of them. And if any of them picked it up, they have to stand up and ask me a question, or I get to ask them a question. And it kept the focus for the rest of the conversation, which was kind of fun because
you're kind of
I did notice it. Well, I mean, you're dealing with a youthful group that is easily distracted. And I was watching other presentations, and about 4 minutes into the conversation, everybody had their phone and was off onto something else.
Is that not the responsibility of the speaker to keep them engaged?
Yes. So I made them stare at their phone face down, and actually called one person I pointed out to when they tried to pick up their phone. But no, I tried to get the engagement of the room by asking questions and making examples and asking for answers and so forth. And the only way I could do that is if they're paying attention, because by the time you catch somebody, rebrief them on what you're catching them for, and then asking them for feedback, it slows down the conversation. Yeah. So for me, it's like I had to keep the engagement with everybody to be able to pull those kind of answers out of the room. It was fun.
He also dressed up like a Candy Crush character. I
actually was. I was in my suit. I tried to be as business minded as possible. I had very little slide. I did Prezi for my slide transitions. So it was a little different than the typical PowerPoint of pain. But no, I
came in from weird angles and zoomed and stuff.
It's so different because it has.
Yeah, it's so different.
Instead of just dissolve and flip.
I kept it really simple, Prezi. I'll share with you my happy deck.
Did they record the session?
I did. I actually have it recorded.
Oh, good.
Can I see it? Can I see it?
I will be happy to go over and share the link. I put it on a page for them to go and play back should they be interested.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see it. I always want to learn.
I used my Mevo camera, but it was fun. It was actually fun because what we did was the shark tank thing afterwards. That was hurting cats because the room was, there was 160 of them that were participating, and we had the 4 sharks up on the stage and the different categories for them. And it was interesting how little questions they asked and how hypothetical they created solutions for it, where they were interesting ideas, but totally not fact-based. Like, there's no way you can produce what you just pitched. Just there's too many missing pieces in the conversation. So the pitch was all about the sell technique and not really actually the concept, which I thought was very interesting because I would have thought the reverse going into it, that there would have been a lot more of substance on the creation of what it would take to make the solution. And it was really just about how to create the sales pitch. So it was an interesting
exercise. Done in a quick period of time.
But some of these ideas were so hypothetical, Bitcoin-based stuff, that it just was not actually usable value to what the idea of the Shark Tank was. And then other ones came through really good that were based on the context of what they were creating. But some of the ideas were like, really? it's not even possible. Flying spaceships landing on your roof, just not going to happen. So, but anyway, that was fun. It was enjoyable and very good conversation with a lot of people. A lot of follow up.
Is if they were on your roof, they would not be a spaceship because they would not be in space.
They have to come from space, though. Come on, they have to be landing somewhere. Even the Enterprise went into their orbit.
Aircraft at that point, aircraft.
Spaceship and aircraft. Okay,
the spaceship when it's in space.
Potato. Come on.
They're different divisions of the military now. Space.
Right now, it's a Space Force. Come on. When the Space Force get into the atmosphere, now they're called the Air Force. Okay. All right, we digressed. But anyway, was there anything else since we didn't have? I know Robert's going to bring up his happy spot when he gets back on the show next week.
God,
about
I feel so bad for this hotel company. Like, I feel so bad because, man, they made minor mistakes that are common mistakes in the hotel business, but Robert is just going to crucify them.
And for those who may know, we see Robert's not with us today because his daughter's getting married in Austin, and they're all mostly staying at the Westin, which he'll share all the details on the next show.
Stop naming names.
Yeah, right. So anyway, the wedding group, even though they weren't accommodating to his wedding group at all, for adjoining rooms or anything like this that he's already mentioned on earlier shows, allegedly, he now found out that they're offering a current rate which is $50 below the wedding booking rate. So,
allegedly,
boy, Robert's going to have fun. Allegedly. So,
you're all of a sudden the one worried about getting sued.
Allegedly. Allegedly. Yes. Okay. We'll see what
Robert's claim. And so once he has proof, then I feel really bad for this hotel group because
he's not going to let it go.
That guy's got some serious and no concern about burning at all.
Yeah.
So we will see allegedly till then.
It is allegedly this hotel and hotel group messed with Robert's daughter. And so I feel
He's
bad.
Gonna make it a point.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It'll be an interesting point.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but there's an opportunity there for them to fix it and make it really good, and then he'd sing their praises.
True.
Hopefully,
this is true. There's still time for them to recover, and even note in his email he said nothing yet. So there is a chance they could pull it out and surprise him.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Bon Jovi's going to be at his wife's or at his daughter's wedding. Who knows?
You never know. Holly made the comment she still loved her Chevy Spectrum, and
what's funny about this whole thing is I pride myself on having a pretty insane depth of knowledge in all things cars, especially cars within the range of the time I've been on this earth, and I never knew that car existed. That car is so plain and so irrelevant that it was never written about in a car magazine. That at all, and the Geo Metro was. So I mean, it's less famous than a Geo Metro.
But
you're saying it's more vanilla than vanilla.
Clients expected a certain level of style, and she delivered that.
And luxury and sophistication.
Right. And luxury, yeah.
It could not be in a phono box.
It was a real asset.
And when you arrived in that car, you arrived. Yes, that's true.
Sorry, Holly. We love you, really. Just not your car.
Here's the thing. She posted it publicly. So it's fair game.
Yeah.
That's before she had friends like us.
To also be fair, my comment to the group was thinking about how 10 years from now, we have put out so much video on this show that there's definitely going to be many things for us to pick on each other about.
We could go and edit, splice together some really funny stuff.
And some of it's going to be great because I'm either right about blockchain or you guys are either right about blockchain.
Wait a minute, we disagreed on blockchain? I don't understand.
I
think you can replace blockchain with any subject.
Yes.
True.
Just put the word in. Gentlemen, if there's nothing else, I'm going to go over and say we call it a day and let people know how they can find out more about all of us and all the other fun stuff. So, Mr. Stewart, if people want to know more about you and your amazing podcast.
Yeah. If you got 12 hours to kill, you want to listen to 12 episodes back to back on 4th of July, you can go to fueltravel.com/podcast or just search for Fuel Hotel Marketing anywhere you get podcasts and you'll find it. And we were meant to do one last week on Google My Business, and we we got distracted. Stuff came up, but we're going to be recording that today. So we'll publish that probably tomorrow. Well,
bring in Bing. Bring in the Bing
tomorrow. It might be published on Sunday.
Might go out on Sunday. Hey, by the way, Bing My Business. Have you guys played with that one? I think they did a very smart thing. Hey, we can transport over from Google My Business all your information without having to reconstitute everything. I thought it was brilliant. Like, know your place in the world. You know what? You're coming up behind them, so see what you can do by using them as a head start.
So about being the feeder fish.
Yeah. So good stuff. Mr. Ed, if people want to know about you and the amazing Flip 2.
You can go to Flip 2, or you can find me on social media, Edward St. Ange, or you'll see me at on Lauren's boat next week.
That's right.
That's right. With an umbrella.
Yeah, well, we're going to do it in the morning so that we don't have to worry about the lightning in the afternoon. But no, Mr. Ed, I'm going to take your most recent post and I'm going to make a video for you and send it back to you just so you know.
Speaking of which, did you guys get to see the videos our customers have started posting that the platform is automatically generating?
No, I have not.
Oh. Hey, whoa! The platform's automatically generating videos. Didn't you just give Lauren shit about this?
Did you just shit on my little one, but now yours is okay? What? Wait a minute. Oh,
I'd love to see them.
You can go to Hilton Waikoloa Village's Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can look at J Hubs posted on LinkedIn, one we made for Remington across multiple property stories.
I saw the link. I didn't play it.
So
okay.
I got to meet Jay for the first time at High Tech, and
he's hilarious. Isn't he?
He's one of the most awesome guys. We bonded over Star Wars. And several.
Jay's amazing.
Hours.
Jay is hands down.
When someone comes up to me and we start talking about favorite Star Wars order to watch them, and he comes out and says the machete order, then I'm like, I know I'm going to get along with this guy because he's got a deep love for this subject.
Oh yeah.
No, I have to give credit to too is that Jay has the amazing skill to do the exact opposite I can't, which is know when to say what to say. I'll say when it pops in my head. He has that ability to craft, and even though he has the right answer or the right comment, he picks the right time. He's a skilled,
smart guy
when it comes to conversation. Me, I'm like, oh, pop in my head. It comes on my mind, sometimes in reverse. Anyway, for this show, replay of this amazing show, you can go to hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/152, which is the show number. And for a link to all of our shows, the archive is at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. With that, gentlemen, thank you so much. I know you love my short URL, don't you?
You are.
There is nothing that satisfies Ed. There's nothing in this world that makes Ed happy except for his wife and family. That's the only thing that makes Ed happy.
Digital marketing live web show / Stuart, Ed, Holly, Darlene, Lauren, Max, every guest name.
Thankfully, I use Bitly too. Yes. Or you can go to bit.ly /HDM show 152. Yes, you can go to that too. So anyway, gentlemen, as always, thank you so much for your time. Yes, have a wonderful weekend. Ed, I'll see you next week.
Yep.
Stuart, best of luck tomorrow.
You may see me next week. You may not. Depends. I might be in morning, like I said. So.
Yeah, well, hopefully all things will go well.
You have this great misty effect to your camera today.
Yeah, yours is kind of a glowiness.
It's kind of softened. Yeah. There you go. Hey, there he is. You were looking all sentimental all the time. Like,
it was like music in the background.
Yeah.
It would have been in black and white.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you again. We'll catch you all hopefully next week for show number 153, where we'll have Max Sarkoff with us. So it should be a really good, fun conversation with Max. Is brilliant, and it'd be a great pleasure to come and talk with him a little bit. So until next week, gentlemen, thank you very, very much. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.